The maintenance corridor of Station Gamma 7 smelled like recycled air and machine oil. Marcus Chen wiped his hands on his work pants and stared at the broken ventilation unit. It was his third repair today, and the station's day cycle wasn't even half over. Just needs a little love, he muttered to himself, pulling out his toolkit. The other engineers always laughed at him for talking to machines. But Marcus knew something they didn't. Every machine had a personality. You just had to listen. He was deep in his work when the screaming started, not human screaming. This was different. Deeper. It sounded like metal scraping against metal mixed with the roar of an angry beast. The whole corridor shook. Marcus grabbed his toolkit and pressed himself against the wall. Then he saw them. The Xanathi warriors marched through the corridor like a living wave of death. They stood nearly 8 feet tall, their bodies covered in dark purple and black chitin that looked like natural armor. Forearms, each ending in clawed hands. Their heads were angular with massive mandibles that clicked when they moved. Eyes like black diamonds caught every movement. Marcus had seen Xanathi before. Everyone in the galaxy knew about them. They were warriors, conquerors, proud beyond measure. They didn't just win battles. They crushed their enemies and made sure everyone remembered. At the center of the group walked someone who could only be their queen. She was massive, even for a Xanathi. Her chitin was deeper purple, almost black, with patterns that seemed to glow in the corridor lights. She wore armor over her natural plating, not the modern combat gear the other warriors had. This armor looked ancient. Crystalline sections caught the light and threw it back in rainbow patterns. Biomesh material connected the pieces, flowing like liquid metal. The armor was also broken. Marcus saw it immediately. A huge crack ran across the chest plate. The crystalline sections had fractured into spiderweb patterns. The biomesh hung loose in places, dead tissue turning gray. For something so beautiful, the damage made his chest hurt to look at. The queen was shouting. Her voice made the walls vibrate. 47 generations, she roared. 47 queens have worn this armor into battle, and now it lies broken, ruined, useless. The warriors around her kept their heads low. One of them, slightly larger than the others with red markings on his shoulders, spoke carefully. Your Majesty, our best engineers have examined it. The damage is too severe. The biomesh is dead. The crystalline matrix has fractured at the molecular level. It cannot be repaired? Cannot? The queen's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of rage. I have the Grand Council in 3 days. 3 days! I cannot appear before the assembled houses wearing damaged armor. I cannot appear without my ancestral armor at all. Either option destroys my political standing. Perhaps new armor could be commissioned, another warrior suggested quietly. The queen spun on him so fast he stumbled backward. New armor? You suggest I abandon 47 generations of history. Every queen who wore this armor is watching from the eternal battlegrounds. Would you have me shame them all? The warrior dropped to his knees. Forgive me, Your Majesty. Marcus knew he should stay quiet. He knew he should press himself against that wall and let them pass. Getting involved with Xanathi politics was a good way to end up dead. Humans were new to the galactic community. Weak, unimportant. The Xanathi barely acknowledged human existence. But that armor, that beautiful broken armor, his feet moved before his brain could stop them. Excuse me, Marcus said. Every Xanathi head turned toward him. 18 warriors, 1 queen, all staring at the small human who had just interrupted their queen's rage. The temperature in the corridor seemed to drop 10 degrees. The warrior with red markings moved forward, all 4 hands reaching for weapons. A human dares to address the queen? You will die for this insult. Wait. The queen's voice cut through the tension. She studied Marcus with those black diamond eyes. You human, why do you interrupt? Marcus swallowed hard. His heart hammered in his chest. Your armor, Your Majesty. I might be able to fix it. The silence that followed was worse than the screaming. Then the queen laughed. It was not a nice sound. You? A maintenance worker from a species barely capable of spaceflight? You claim you can repair what my master engineers cannot. I'd like to try, Your Majesty. The red-marked warrior grabbed Marcus by his shirt and lifted him off the ground. The human mocks you, my queen. Let me remove his head. No, Ixthal. Put him down. The queen moved closer. She towered over Marcus, studying him like a scientist examines a bug. You are either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Perhaps both. What makes you think you can succeed where Xanathi engineers have failed? Marcus's mouth was dry, but he forced himself to speak. Because they're looking at it like a machine, Your Majesty. But it's not just a machine, is it? It's alive, or it was. The biomesh is organic tissue. The crystalline parts grew naturally, connected to the mesh. Your engineers see damage. I see something that needs healing. The Queen's mandibles clicked slowly. You speak as if you understand our technology. I understand biology, Your Majesty. And I understand repair. On Earth, we have an art form called kintsugi. When something breaks, we fix it with gold. The repair becomes part of the object's history, part of its beauty. Beauty? The Queen's voice dropped dangerously low. You think I care about beauty? This is war armor, human. It must function perfectly or not at all. Then let me make it function, Your Majesty. One of the warriors moved forward. Your Majesty, we cannot allow this. To give an alien access to royal armor is forbidden. To provide him with your genetic material, as he would surely need for biomesh repair, is unthinkable. Marcus hadn't thought about that part. But now that the warrior mentioned it, yes, he would need samples. The biomesh would need to be regrown using the Queen's own biology. The Queen was quiet for a long moment. Her warriors waited. Marcus tried to keep breathing normally. How long would you need? She finally asked. 48 hours, Your Majesty. Maybe less. You would need materials? Yes, biocatalysts from 3 different species. Access to the station's greenhouse. Some specialized tools, and he hesitated. Samples from you, Your Majesty. Chitin scrapings. Genetic material. The warriors erupted in protest. Ixthal actually drew his weapon. This is madness. Your Majesty, he could clone you, create weapons, sell your genetic code to enemies. The Queen raised one hand. Silence fell immediately. I am aware of the risks, Commander. She stared at Marcus. But I am also aware that I have no other options. The Council meets in 72 hours. If I appear weak, my enemies will remove me from power. Everything I have built will fall apart. She leaned down until her face was inches from Marcus's. He could smell something like cinnamon and burning metal. I will give you 48 hours, human. Commander Ixthal will guard you every moment. You will be given the materials you request. But understand this. If you fail, you die. If you betray my trust in any way, you die. If you damage the armor further, you die slowly. Do you accept these terms? Marcus thought about his small apartment on the station, his quiet life fixing air filters and water recyclers. He thought about how much easier it would be to just walk away. Then he looked at the broken armor again, at the history it represented, at the desperate hope buried deep in the Queen's angry eyes. I accept, Your Majesty. The Queen straightened. Then we have an agreement. Commander Ixthal, secure a workshop. Get this human whatever he needs. And watch him. Every moment. She turned and swept away, her warriors following. Only Ixthal remained, glaring at Marcus with pure hatred. I do not trust you, human. I do not like you. And I promise you this. The moment you fail, the very instant I see betrayal, I will kill you myself. Marcus picked up his toolkit with shaking hands. Understood. Now can we get started? We're wasting time. Ixthal's mandibles clicked in what might have been surprise or respect. Then he gestured down the corridor. Follow me. And human, do not make me regret that my queen showed you mercy. Marcus followed the massive warrior deeper into the station, already planning the impossible repair in his head. He had 48 hours to do something no one else in the galaxy could do. He just hoped his crazy idea would actually work. The workshop was cold and smelled like antiseptic. Ixthal had cleared out an entire section of the station's repair bay. Armed guards stood at every entrance. Marcus felt their eyes on him as he set up his tools. The armor lay on a sterile table under bright lights. Up close, the damage looked even worse. The biomesh had turned completely gray in some sections. The crystalline plates had cracks running deep into their structure. Any wrong move could shatter the whole thing into useless fragments. Marcus pulled out his scanner. It was old, human-made, probably considered primitive by galactic standards. He ran it over the armor slowly, taking readings. Ixthal watched from the corner, all 4 arms crossed. The Queen's engineers used molecular scanners. Quantum imaging. Tools far beyond what you hold. They found nothing that could be done. That's the problem, Marcus said, not looking up. They used scanners to look for what they expected to find. Meaning? Marcus set down the scanner and pulled out something that made Ixthal's mandibles click in confusion. It was a magnifying glass, an actual piece of curved glass on a handle. meaning sometimes you need to just look, really look. He leaned close to the armor, examining the crystalline sections under the glass. Then he did something that made the guard shift nervously. He touched it, ran his fingers along the cracks, feeling the edges. "Stop that," Ixthal barked. "You will contaminate the sample. I'm wearing gloves, and I need to feel how the crystal broke. Scanners don't tell you everything." Marcus moved to the biomesh sections. He lifted one gently, testing its weight and flexibility, or lack of flexibility since it was dead tissue now. Then he did something even stranger. He leaned close and smelled it. Ixthal actually drew his weapon. "What are you doing?" "Checking for chemical breakdown. Each species has different decomposition markers. I need to know how long the tissue has been dead and what killed it." Marcus straightened up, pulling off his gloves. "Okay, I see the problem." "Enlighten us," Ixthal said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Marcus pointed to the crystalline sections. "These crystals didn't just crack from impact. They grew inside the biomesh, right? They're connected at the cellular level. When the mesh died, it stopped providing nutrients to the crystal structure. The crystal started to collapse from the inside out. Our engineers know this, but did they know the mesh isn't completely dead?" Marcus smiled. "There are still living cells deep in the structure, dormant but alive. The damage happened fast, probably from some kind of energy weapon. The mesh shut down to protect itself. It's waiting. Waiting for what? For the right conditions to restart. Think of it like a seed. It looks dead, but give it water and warmth and time, and it grows." Marcus started writing a list. "I need biocatalysts from 3 species. Xanathi, obviously, but also Calarian and Varax. The combination will create a growth medium that can wake up the dormant cells." Ixthal stared at the list. "This is insane. You cannot mix genetic material from different species. It would create toxic reactions. Not if you balance it correctly. Humans have been doing genetic mixing for centuries. We're pretty good at it." Marcus added more items to the list. "I also need access to the greenhouse. Specific plants that produce growth hormones. And I'll need samples from the queen. Fresh chitin scrapings. A few cells from her biomesh integration points. Absolutely not. The risk is too great." "Then the armor can't be fixed." Marcus met Ixthal's eyes. "You want me to do this with one hand tied behind my back? Fine. But when I fail, remember you're the one who wouldn't let me try my way." They stared at each other for a long moment. Then Ixthal made a growling sound and activated his communicator. He spoke rapidly in the Xanathi language, harsh syllables that sounded like breaking glass. Finally, he turned back to Marcus. "The Queen approves your requests, but I will personally collect her samples. You will never be in the same room with them until they are properly contained and supervised." "That works." Marcus checked his chronometer. 36 hours left. "Let's move." The next few hours passed in a blur. Marcus worked with an intensity that seemed to surprise the watching guards. He mixed the biocatalysts in precise ratios, using equipment that looked crude but worked perfectly. He processed plant extracts in the greenhouse, filling the air with strange smells. When Ixthal returned with the Queen's samples, Marcus treated them with reverence. He understood what they represented: trust, hope, and enormous political risk. He began the delicate process of creating a growth medium. It looked like clear gel with faint purple highlights. He spread it carefully over the dead sections of biomesh. "Now what?" Ixthal asked. He had been watching for 8 hours straight, never sitting, never resting. "Now we wait. The dormant cells need time to wake up. 12 hours minimum. And then comes the hard part." Marcus stretched, his back popping. "The biomesh will start regenerating, but it needs to reconnect with the crystalline matrix. That's where things get tricky." "Why?" Marcus pointed to the fractured crystals. "The new mesh will be young, flexible. The old crystals are rigid, set in their patterns. They won't naturally bond. We need to teach them to work together." Ixthal's mandibles clicked slowly.
"How does one teach crystals?"
"Sound. Vibration. Crystals respond to specific frequencies. If I can find the right harmonic pattern, I can guide how the new mesh integrates with the old crystal structure." "You are insane." "Maybe, but it's our best shot." The Queen arrived 6 hours later. She entered without announcement, her guards scrambling to follow. Marcus was checking the armor's progress, making notes. "How goes the repair, human?" Her voice filled the workshop. Marcus stood and bowed slightly. It felt weird, but this was a queen. The biomesh is regenerating, Your Majesty. Better than I hoped, but we're approaching the difficult phase. She moved closer, studying her armor. It looks different. The new growth is lighter colored. It'll darken as it matures. But yes, there will be visible differences. The repair will show. Show? Her mandibles clicked dangerously. You mean my armor will carry permanent marks of damage? Marcus chose his words carefully. It will carry marks of survival, Your Majesty. And the repair will actually make it stronger. The new biomesh is growing in response to the damage pattern. It's reinforcing the weak points. My political enemies will call it weakness. Then your political enemies are fools. The words were out before Marcus could stop them. He braced for Ixthal's weapon. But the queen held up one hand. Continue, she said. On Earth we have pottery that's hundreds of years old. Some of it has broken and been repaired. Those pieces are worth more than perfect pottery. Because they have history. They survived. They were valuable enough to fix instead of throw away. Marcus gestured to the armor. This armor has survived 47 generations. Now it's surviving 48. That's not weakness. That's strength. The queen was quiet for a long time. Then she did something that shocked everyone in the room. She laughed. Not the cruel laugh from before. This was different. Genuine. You are a strange creature, Marcus Chen. Your species has been in space for barely a century. You have no great empire, no fearsome military, and yet you stand before me and call my enemies fools. Only if they think survival is weakness, Your Majesty. Perhaps you are right. Perhaps that is exactly what they think. She touched the armor gently. How much longer? 24 hours. Maybe less. But I need to monitor the integration constantly. And when the crystal bonding begins, I'll need several hours of complete focus. Then I will not disturb you further. She turned to leave, then paused. Marcus Chen, if you succeed, I will owe you a debt. That is not something I say lightly. Just seeing that armor working again will be payment enough, Your Majesty. After she left, Ixthal shook his head. You are either the bravest human alive or the stupidest. Can't I be both? Apparently. But there was something different in Ixthal's voice. Something that might have been respect. The queen does not laugh often, and she does not offer debts of honor to anyone. You have impressed her. I just want to fix her armor. I believe you. That is why I have not killed you yet. Ixthal settled into a chair for the first time. Now teach me about this kintsugi. I want to understand. Marcus smiled and pulled up images on his datapad. As he explained the Japanese art of golden repair, he watched Ixthal's expressions change. Understanding grew, and maybe, just maybe, the beginning of respect. Outside the workshop, the chronometer counted down, 22 hours until the Grand Council. 22 hours to complete an impossible repair. Marcus looked at the armor, at the new growth spreading like purple fire through dead tissue, at the crystals waiting to be reborn. Come on, he whispered to it. You've survived this long. Don't quit now. The armor seemed to glow faintly in response, or maybe that was just his imagination working overtime. Either way, the real work was about to begin. Marcus hadn't slept in 28 hours. His eyes burned. His hands shook slightly from too much coffee and not enough food. But the armor was responding beautifully. The biomesh had regenerated across 70% of the damaged area. Purple tissue now covered what had been gray and dead. It pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. The cells were alive and growing stronger every hour, but the crystalline sections remained fractured. Dark lines spiderwebbed through the beautiful structures. This was the part that kept Marcus awake even when exhaustion tried to drag him down. You talk to it, Ixthal said suddenly. Marcus looked up from his monitor. What? The armor. When you think no one is listening, you talk to it. The warrior's mandibles clicked in what Marcus had learned was curiosity, not aggression. You say things like, come on, you can do this and stay with me, as if it can hear you. Marcus felt his cheeks warm. Old habit. My grandmother was a mechanic. She always said machines respond better when you treat them with respect. It is strange. Zanathi do not speak to objects. Maybe you should try it sometime. Marcus returned to his work, adjusting the growth medium's chemical balance. Everything has I don't know. A spirit, maybe. Not in a religious way, but in essence. When you repair something, you need to understand what it is, what it means. The armor means honor, Legacy. Power. To you, maybe. But what does it mean to itself? Ixtal tilted his head. Objects do not have opinions about themselves. Are you sure? Marcus gestured to the armor. This has been worn by 47 queens. It's been in hundreds of battles. It's been maintained and polished and prayed over for generations. You think all that doesn't leave an imprint? That it's just dead material? You speak of things that cannot be measured. The best things can't be measured, Commander. The door opened and the queen entered again. It was the third time today. She seemed drawn to the workshop, unable to stay away. Ixtal snapped to attention, but she waved him down. Report, she said simply. Biomesh regeneration is at 73%, Your Majesty. Better than expected. The crystalline integration begins in approximately 6 hours. Marcus rubbed his eyes. That's when things get interesting. She moved closer, studying the armor. Tell me about your grandmother. The mechanic. The question surprised him. Your Majesty? You mentioned her. I wish to know more. She settled onto a bench that creaked under her weight. We have hours to wait. I find human stories no intriguing. Marcus glanced at Ixtal, who looked as confused as Marcus felt. But an order was an order. She ran a repair shop in Seattle, fixed everything from toasters to hover bikes. She taught me that every object has history. Every scratch, every dent tells a story. When someone brought her something to fix, she'd ask about it. Where they got it. What it meant to them. People thought she was weird. He smiled at the memory. But her repairs lasted forever. Because she understood what she was fixing. And this helps with repair how? Because when you care about something, you're more careful. More creative. You find solutions you wouldn't think of if it was just a job. Marcus met her eyes. Your armor isn't just material and technology, Your Majesty. It's 47 generations of queens who trusted their lives to it. Every battle, every victory, every near-death experience. That matters. The queen was quiet for a moment. Tell me which queens wore this. Name them. I don't know their names, Your Majesty. Then I will tell you. She touched the armor gently. The first was Sharala the Founder. She commissioned this armor when our people were still planet-bound, fighting rival houses for dominance. She wore it in the Battle of the Black Spires, where she personally killed 17 enemy champions. Her voice changed as she spoke. Softer. Reverent. The seventh queen was Ixthala, the diplomat. She wore this armor to the first interspecies peace conference. She refused to appear weak before aliens. The armor helped her stand tall, even when she was terrified. You were named after her, Marcus said to Ixtal. The warrior nodded. It is an honor I try to live up to, the queen continued. The 23rd queen was Krathanal the Broken. She was injured in battle. Lost 2 arms. Everyone expected her to step down. Instead, she modified this armor to compensate. She ruled for 40 years and never lost another battle. She sounds amazing, Marcus said. They all were, each in their own way. The queen's mandibles clicked softly. The 39th queen was my mother. She wore this armor when she first held me. I remember the sound it made, the way the crystals caught the light. I promised myself that day I would wear it someday. What was she like? Your mother? Strong, fierce, uncompromising. The queen paused. But in private moments she was kind. She taught me that strength and compassion are not opposites. That true power comes from protecting those weaker than yourself, not crushing them. Marcus absorbed this. I think she'd be proud of you, would she? The queen's voice held doubt. I am about to appear before the council wearing damaged armor. Many will see it as weakness. Or they'll see a queen who values history and adaptation over vanity. You speak as if you understand Xanathi politics. I don't. But I understand people. Every species has the same basic stuff going on. Pride, fear, ambition, hope. We're all just trying to survive and prove we matter. Ixtal made a sound. Humans and Xanathi are nothing alike, aren't we? Marcus stood and stretched. You value honor and strength. We value courage and innovation. But both come from the same place. The desire to be more than we are. To leave something behind that matters. The queen stood as well. You are a philosopher as well as an engineer, Marcus Chen. I'm really just a maintenance guy who thinks too much, Your Majesty. She laughed that genuine laugh again. Perhaps that is what we need. Someone who thinks differently than we do. She moved toward the door, then paused. In 6 hours you will attempt the crystalline integration. I wish to be present. It's going to be loud, Your Majesty, and probably boring. Nevertheless, this is my armor. I should witness its rebirth. She left, Ixthal following after giving Marcus a nod. Alone in the workshop, Marcus returned to his preparations. The next phase required perfect timing and absolute precision. He had to use harmonic frequencies to guide how the new biomesh integrated with the old crystalline structure. He set up speakers around the armor, connected them to his frequency generator, pulled up the complex patterns he'd calculated. It looked like music, but it was really mathematical equations translated into sound. 6 hours later, the Queen returned as promised. She wasn't alone. Several other Xanathi came with her, including some who wore the markings of high rank. They watched from the doorway as Marcus made final preparations. This will take approximately 6 hours, Marcus explained. I need to maintain specific harmonic patterns while monitoring the integration. If the frequency shifts too much, the bonding could fail. If it's perfect, the new mesh will knit into the crystal structure at the molecular level. And what are you doing during this? One of the observers asked. Marcus held up his hands. Conducting, like an orchestra. I have to adjust frequencies in real time based on what the sensors show. It's part science, part art, part luck. Madness, someone muttered. Probably, Marcus agreed. He took a deep breath. Your Majesty, I need complete silence. Any vibration in the room could interfere. The Queen gestured. Everyone fell silent. Marcus activated the system. Sound filled the workshop. It wasn't music exactly. It was pure frequency, harmonics that resonated in bone and chitin. The armor began to glow faintly. He watched his monitors and adjusted the frequency generator. His hands moved constantly, small tweaks that kept the harmonics perfect. He fell into a rhythm, a flow state where nothing existed except the sound and the armor and the delicate balance between them. Sweat dripped down his face. His arms ached. His eyes burned from staring at screens. But he didn't stop. Couldn't stop. The armor was responding. The biomesh and crystals were beginning to bond. 2 hours in, his vision blurred. 3 hours, and his hands cramped. 4 hours. And he wasn't sure if he was awake or dreaming. At 5.5 hours, his body gave out. His knees buckled. The world tilted. Strong hands caught him. 4 hands. The Queen herself held him upright. I've got you, she said quietly. Finish it. With her support, Marcus made the final adjustments. The frequencies peaked, held, and then slowly descended to silence. The armor's glow faded. In the quiet that followed, everyone stared at the armor. The biomesh had fully integrated with the crystalline sections. But the repair was visible. The new growth had created patterns, beautiful whorls of purple tissue between reformed crystals. It looked like art, like stained glass windows, like something deliberate instead of damaged. Is it complete? The Queen asked softly. Marcus nodded, unable to speak. She lowered him gently into a chair. One of the observers moved closer. Your Majesty, the repair shows. Everyone will see it. Yes, the Queen said. They will. That is unproblematic. Perhaps. The Queen touched the armor. Or perhaps it is exactly what we need. She looked at Marcus, who was barely conscious. Rest, human. You have earned it. Whatever happens next, you have done something remarkable. As darkness pulled him down, Marcus's last thought was simple. It worked. Against all odds, it actually worked. Now came the hard part, making everyone else see what he saw, beauty and repair. Marcus woke in a bed that wasn't his. The ceiling was too high. The walls were purple metal instead of station-standard gray. Medical equipment beeped softly nearby. He tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Every muscle in his body screamed in protest. Do not move, human. Ixthal's voice came from the corner. You collapsed from exhaustion. The Queen ordered you brought to the Royal Medical Bay. The armor? Marcus croaked. Functional. The integration was successful. Ixthal moved closer. He held a cup of water, which Marcus took gratefully. You worked for 6 hours without stopping, without food or rest. It was impressive, also incredibly stupid. Did it work, though? See for yourself. Ixthal activated a wall screen. The armor appeared, displayed in high resolution. The repair was clearly visible. Beautiful patterns of new biomesh wove between reformed crystals. It looked intentional, artistic, strong. It also looked different from the original. obviously repaired. It's beautiful, Marcus said. The Queen's advisors do not agree. Ixthal closed the screen. They have been arguing for 3 hours. Half say she should wear it and dare anyone to criticize. The other half say appearing with visible repairs will destroy her political standing. What does the Queen say? Nothing. She has been in her chambers, alone with the armor, for the past 2 hours. Ixthal's mandibles clicked. The Grand Council begins in 4 hours. She must decide. The door opened. A Xanathi in ornate robes entered. She carried herself with the authority of someone used to being obeyed. Behind her came 3 more advisors, all looking grim. The human is awake. Good. She studied Marcus like he was a particularly interesting specimen. I am High Advisor Kreltana. I serve the Queen in matters of politics and strategy. Nice to meet you, Marcus said cautiously. That remains to be seen. Your repair work is technically proficient, but politically it is a disaster. She pulled up images of the armor. Look at this. The repair patterns are obvious. Any Xanathi who sees this armor will know immediately that it was damaged, that it required outside help to fix. That's not exactly a secret, Marcus pointed out. Everyone knows it was broken. Knowing and seeing are different things. Another advisor stepped forward. Knowing the armor was damaged is abstract. Seeing the visible repairs makes it real. It becomes a symbol of weakness that opponents can rally around. The repair makes the armor stronger than before, Marcus argued. Tests show the integrated sections can withstand 40% more stress. Numbers do not matter in politics, Kreltana said. Perception matters, and the perception of a queen wearing visibly repaired armor is weakness. Then what's the alternative? The Queen commissions new armor. She appears before the council and announces that while the ancestral armor served with honor, it is time for a new generation. She frames it as moving forward rather than clinging to the past. Marcus struggled to sit up properly. That's giving up everything the armor represents. 47 generations of history, gone because people might think the wrong thing. Welcome to politics, human. It's cowardly. The room went silent. Ixthal made a warning sound. Kreltana's expression hardened. You dare call the Queen's advisors cowards? I'm calling the advice cowardly. There's a difference. Marcus met her eyes. You're telling her to hide, to pretend the damage never happened, to throw away history because you're afraid of what people might think. Fear is not weakness. Fear is survival. Fear that makes you give up what matters most? That's not survival. That's surrender. One of the other advisors moved forward. You understand nothing of our culture. The Queen's position is precarious. Her main rival, Lord Caxthor, has been gathering support. He argues that she is too soft, too willing to negotiate instead of conquer. If she appears before the council, in damaged armor, he will use it as proof that she is unfit to lead. So she should prove him right by hiding. She should be strategic, Kreltana snapped. This is not a simple repair job, human. This is the fate of our empire. If the Queen falls, everything changes. Wars that were prevented might start. Alliances might crumble. Thousands could die. That stopped Marcus. He hadn't thought about it on that scale. But if she wears new armor, Kreltana continued, she controls the narrative. She shows strength through renewal. She demonstrates that she is not bound by the past, but ready to forge the future, while betraying everything her ancestors stood for, Marcus said quietly. Sometimes leadership requires difficult choices. The door opened again. This time, the Queen herself entered. Everyone immediately bowed or dropped to their knees. Marcus tried to stand, but his legs wouldn't cooperate. The Queen gestured for everyone to rise. She looked tired, older somehow. The weight of decision showed in every line of her posture. I heard the discussion, she said. Even in my chambers, the arguments carry. She looked at Marcus. You think I should wear the repaired armor? I think you should wear what feels right, Your Majesty. That is not an answer. Marcus took a breath. Then yes, I think you should wear it. Because hiding the repair means hiding your story. It means saying that survival is shameful, that needing help is weakness. And if that's the message you send, what does that tell every Xanathi who's ever been damaged or needed help or faced failure? It tells them to be realistic, one advisor said. It tells them to be ashamed, Marcus countered. Your Majesty, I don't understand Xanathi politics, but I understand what that armor represents now. It's not just your history, it's your people's history. And part of that history is surviving damage, adapting, finding new ways to be strong. The Queen moved to the window, looking out at the station. My mother told me once that the hardest part of leadership is knowing when to stand firm and when to bend. I have spent my entire reign trying to modernize our people, to teach them that strength comes in many forms, that negotiation is not surrender, that mercy is not weakness. She turned back to face the room. And now I am told to hide behind new armor, to pretend my ancestral armor was not strong enough to survive, to throw away 47 generations of history because I am afraid of criticism. Your Majesty, Kreltana began, we only advise. I know what you advise and I understand why. You fear for me, for the Empire, for what my enemies might do. The Queen's voice grew stronger, but I have spent years teaching our people to be brave in new ways. How can I ask them to face their fears if I cannot face my own? She looked at Marcus. You asked me what the armor means to itself. I have thought about that question. The armor means survival, adaptation, the willingness to be broken and rebuilt, to carry scars with pride because they prove you lived. Your Majesty, please reconsider, another advisor pleaded. I have reconsidered. For 2 hours I have thought about nothing else. The Queen straightened to her full height. I will wear the armor. I will stand before the Grand Council with my repairs visible, and I will dare anyone to call it weakness. Lord Caxthor will move against you, Kreltana warned. Then he will learn what true strength means. The Queen turned to Marcus. You told me about kintsugi, the art of golden repair. You said the broken pieces are more valuable because they survived. I choose to believe that. For myself and for my people. Your Majesty, this could destroy you, Ixthal said quietly, or it could remake us all. She smiled, fierce and determined. Prepare the armor. I will wear it to the council, and Marcus Chen, you will be there. Me, Marcus squeaked. Yes, as my guest. Let the council see the human who did what our best engineers could not. Let them ask their questions. Let them learn that sometimes the greatest strength is admitting you need help. Your Majesty, security, Ixthal began, will be adequate. Commander, you will guard both myself and the human. No harm will come to him. I give you my word. She swept from the room, leaving stunned silence behind. Kreltana looked at Marcus. I hope you understand what you have done, human. You may have just ended the Queen's reign. Or saved it, Marcus said, though he wasn't sure he believed it. Ixthal helped him stand. Can you walk? I'll manage. Good. Because in 4 hours, we face the Grand Council. And I suspect it will not go smoothly. Marcus nodded. His crazy idea had worked on the armor. Now came the real test. Could it work on an empire? Outside the medical bay, preparations began. The armor was polished and ready. The Queen prepared her arguments. Her enemies sharpened their knives, and Marcus Chen, human maintenance engineer, wondered if he'd just made the biggest mistake of his life, or the bravest decision. The Grand Council chamber was enormous. The ceiling soared 50 feet above, covered in carved reliefs showing ancient battles. Hundreds of Xanathi filled the circular room, arranged by house and rank. Their chitin gleamed under bright lights. Their eyes watched everything. Marcus stood near the back with Ixthal, trying to look invisible. It wasn't working. Every Xanathi who entered stared at him. The weak human, the alien who shouldn't be here. Stay close, Ixthal murmured, and do not speak unless spoken to directly. Wasn't planning on it. The great doors opened. The Queen entered. She wore the armor. The entire chamber fell silent. Every eye locked on her, on the armor, on the visible repairs that caught the light and threw back patterns like stained glass. The Queen walked slowly, deliberately, to her throne at the center of the chamber. Her head was high. Her steps were confident, but Marcus could see the tension in her shoulders. She knew what was coming. She sat. The silence stretched. Finally, one Xanathi stood. He was massive, even for their species. His chitin was darker than most, with red markings that suggested high rank. Scars covered his arms. This was a warrior who had seen real battle. Lord Caxthor, Ixthal whispered. Her main rival. Lord Caxthor's voice filled the chamber. Queen Shrathar, we gather in council to discuss the future of our empire, but I find myself distracted by your armor. Speak plainly, Lord Caxthor, the queen said calmly. Very well. Your ancestral armor was damaged in battle. This is known. What was not known is that you would appear before this council wearing armor that has been repaired. He said the word like it was an insult. Repaired by an alien, a human. One of the weakest species in the known galaxy. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some angry, some uncertain. The armor was damaged, the queen acknowledged. It has been repaired. This is truth. Why should I hide it? Because it shows weakness. Lord Caxthor's voice rose. For 47 generations, your armor has been a symbol of invincibility, of perfect strength. And now you wear it broken, patched together like some merchant's work clothes. More murmurs. Louder now. The armor is not broken, the queen said. It is healed. There is a difference. Is there? Lord Caxthor began to circle the chamber, playing to his audience. You command the greatest military force in 7 sectors. You lead the Xanathi people, and when your armor breaks, you cannot fix it yourself. You must beg help from a human. What does that say about your leadership? It says I am wise enough to seek expertise wherever it exists. It says you are weak. Lord Caxthor turned to face the assembled houses. Fellow warriors, fellow leaders, I have warned for years that our queen has gone soft, that her policies of negotiation and alliance weaken us, that her tolerance of lesser species endangers our supremacy, and now we see the truth. When faced with a damaged armor, she could have commissioned a new one. She could have shown strength through renewal. Instead, she clings to the past and displays her weakness for all to see. Several Xanathi voiced agreement. Marcus felt sick. This was going worse than he'd feared. The queen stood. Her voice cut through the noise. You call this weakness, Lord Caxthor? Then you understand nothing of strength. I understand that a warrior does not show damage. Then you are not a warrior. You are a child playing dress-up. The queen descended from her throne, moving toward Lord Caxthor. A true warrior knows that damage is inevitable. That survival is what matters. That adapting to overcome is the highest form of strength. Pretty words. But words do not win battles. Neither does false pride. The queen stopped in front of him. They were nearly the same height. You want to challenge my fitness to lead? Then challenge me. But do not hide behind politics and pretty speeches. Say what you really mean. Lord Caxthor's mandibles clicked rapidly. Very well. I call for a vote of no confidence. I say Queen Shrathar has proven herself unfit to command the Xanathi people. Who stands with me? Hands raised throughout the chamber. Marcus counted quickly. Maybe a third of those present. Not a majority, but significant. Who stands with the queen? Someone called. More hands rose. But not enough. The room was divided almost evenly. Lord Caxthor smiled. It seems the council is uncertain. Perhaps we need more evidence of your leadership, Your Majesty. What evidence would satisfy you? Proof that the armor is worthy. Proof that this repair is not a patch job that will fail in battle. Proof that you did not waste our resources on human trickery. He gestured dismissively toward Marcus. The queen turned to look at Marcus. For a moment their eyes met. She was asking permission. Marcus gave a tiny nod. Very well, the queen said. The human who repaired my armor is here. Marcus Chen, step forward. Marcus's legs felt like water. Ixthal had to nudge him. He walked into the center of the chamber, aware that hundreds of predators were watching him. Any one of them could kill him with a single swipe. Marcus Chen, the queen said formally, explain to the council how you repaired what our finest engineers declared irreparable. Marcus swallowed hard. His voice came out barely above a whisper. I treated it like a living thing, not just a machine. Louder, someone shouted. Marcus tried again. Your engineers use scanners and data, but the armor isn't just technology. It's biology. It was grown, not built. So I used biological repair methods. I woke up dormant cells in the biomesh. I used harmonic frequencies to guide how the new tissue integrated with the crystalline matrix. Harmonic frequencies? Lord Caxthor laughed. You sang to it? This is your great expertise? Yes, Marcus said, finding his courage. I sang to it, because crystals respond to vibration, and the biomesh needed guidance to bond correctly. It worked. The repaired sections test 40% stronger than the original material. Lies, someone muttered. Test it yourself, Marcus challenged. I have the data. The Queen has the results. The armor is stronger now than it was before the damage. That is impossible, Lord Caxthor said. It's not impossible. It's adaptation. Marcus turned to address the whole chamber. You're also focused on perfection, that you can't see what's right in front of you. The repair made the armor better. The new biomesh compensates for weaknesses in the original design. The integration pattern distributes impact stress more efficiently. You're not looking at a damaged armor. You're looking at an evolved one. The chamber erupted in argument. Some demanded proof. Others claimed it was human trickery. The noise grew deafening. Then Lord Caxthor drew his weapon. Enough talk. If the armor is so strong, let it prove itself in combat. Ixthal moved instantly, putting himself between Marcus and the threat. But the Queen raised one hand. Stand down, Commander. Lord Caxthor is right. Words mean nothing. She looked at her rival. You want proof? Then provide it. Gladly. Lord Caxthor activated his weapon. It hummed with energy. I will strike the repaired section. If it fails, you abdicate. If it holds, I will withdraw my challenge. Agreed, the Queen said without hesitation. She stood perfectly still as Lord Caxthor approached. He raised his weapon, aiming for the most visibly repaired section on her chest plate. The patterns Marcus had created glowed faintly. Your Majesty, Ixthal began. Stand down, she ordered. Lord Caxthor struck with full force. The impact echoed through the chamber like thunder. Energy flared across the armor's surface. The repaired section blazed with light and held, not just held. The biomesh absorbed the impact and distributed it across the entire armor structure. The crystalline sections glowed as they channeled energy away from critical areas. The patterns Marcus had created flared and pulsed like a living circuit. Lord Caxthor staggered back, his weapon smoking. The Queen stood unmoved. Again, Your Majesty, I said again. Lord Caxthor struck twice more. Each time the armor held. Each time the repaired sections glowed brighter. Each time the Queen stood firm. On the third strike, something unexpected happened. The energy feedback from the armor surged back through Lord Caxthor's weapon. It exploded in his hands. He fell backward, his weapon in pieces. The chamber went silent. The Queen looked down at her rival. Still think the repair shows weakness? But before Lord Caxthor could answer, alarm shrieked. The chamber's doors burst open. Armed warriors flooded in, wearing colors Marcus didn't recognize. Assassins! Someone screamed. Chaos erupted. The attackers moved through the crowd, striking at specific targets. Marcus realized with horror that they were targeting the Queen's supporters. This wasn't random violence. This was a coordinated political assassination attempt. Ixthal grabbed Marcus and threw him behind a pillar. Stay here! The Queen was already fighting, moving with lethal grace. Her armor blazed with light as weapons struck it again and again. But she didn't go down. The repaired sections held against every impact, distributing damage, keeping her protected. Marcus watched in awe as the repair patterns he'd created glowed brighter under stress. The armor was working exactly as he'd hoped. Better than he'd hoped. The fight lasted 3 minutes. When it ended, the assassins were dead or captured. The Queen stood in the center of the chamber, her armor smoking but intact. The repaired sections glowed like forgework, beautiful and terrifying. Lord Caxthor knelt among the prisoners. He hadn't fled, hadn't fought, just knelt and waited. You arranged this, the Queen said quietly. I did, he admitted. I believed you weak. I was wrong.